Hello, everybody. I'm so excited to see some faces here again that were here yesterday and some new faces as well. We're going to be talking about Instagram content strategies today. For those of you who were in the session yesterday, we talked about optimizing your profile on Instagram for success. If you were not in the session yesterday, I know they're going to be getting out the recording here very soon. Make sure you catch that as well, because everything we talked about yesterday is a foundational lead into what we're talking about today. We're going to talk all about content for feed, reels, and stories. We're going to talk about a bunch of things that you can do strategically with your content in order to reach more of your target audience. But if your profile isn't optimized, the content isn't going to do nearly as much for you, even if it's great content. So you're going to want to make sure you go back and watch that replay from yesterday's session, so you have all those things optimized on your profile in terms of setting up your profile, your bio description, your link in bio, how to write your captions for search, and all these different categories of ways of being found on Instagram. And then that ties into everything that we're talking about today with content strategy. So we're going to dive right in. As we go through today, if you have any questions at any point, feel free to just drop those questions in the chat. We're going to come back to all the questions at the end. And if there's any questions that tie into what we're talking about tomorrow, we'll kind of leave that for tomorrow's content. But that way, if you drop the questions in when you have them, we don't forget about them by the time we get to the end of the session today. So we're going to start off hot and heavy. I'm going to tell you something you probably don't want to hear. When it comes to creating your content for Instagram, please, 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 please stop selling houses all the time. We're going to sell houses. I promise you, I want you to sell houses. But before you just make that your entire Instagram strategy, you need to think about how the platform works. You need to understand how algorithms work, and you need to understand what people are looking for. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. So I want you to remember, if you forget everything else that I say, remember this slide. Stop selling houses all the time. We're going to use a variety of content instead. Oops, double skipping. We're going to use a variety of content instead to start making your content interactive. We want to connect people with people. So if someone's going to choose to work with you as their real estate professional, they want to connect with you. They want to know who you are. They want to know, what you look like. They want to know what you sound like. They want to know your expertise. They want to know what your family looks like. What do you do on weekends? They're going to connect with you as a human being, on top of the fact that, yes, you may be, top 5 in your region, or you may have just recently sold, a $10 million home. Great. But they still connect with you as a person. So think about that when you're looking at your social media, and especially your Instagram content, that we want to keep it on that personal level to an extent. Things you can do is provide resources and information to serve your audience. We talked a lot about this in yesterday's session, things like educational information, tips, resources, like DIY tips, referrals for people locally, plumbers, organizers, backyard, handyman, that sort of thing. Anything you can do that creates that highly resourceful, highly shareable type content is stuff that we want to consider using. Showcase your lifestyle, family, and activities. Now, you don't have to get super personal. I don't want you sharing every aspect of your personal life, but people want to know what you do. What do your holiday traditions look like? What are you doing on the weekend? What is it like when you go on vacation? How many kids do you have? Are you in, mom mode or dad mode at, the school pickup line, and those sorts of things? People connect with that, and they want to see that environment. Show up the community in the neighborhoods you work in. Orange County is a massive area. You are not serving probably all of Orange County. You may be specializing in just the Costa Mesa locations. So you know what's going on in those areas. You also know what's going on. We're going into all that seasonal stuff right now, with like holidays coming up, or even right now with all the Halloween and the fall things. You've got fairs, you've got parades, you've got all these different activities going on in your community that your audience wants to know about. Share that sort of stuff. What's happening in your community that people want to participate in, be aware of. Also, ask questions and ask for recommendations. People love to be helpful. And so, maybe you say something like, hey, we've got friends coming into town for the weekend and we're looking to try out a new restaurant. What's your favorite restaurant in, and, pick an area of Orange County, or even just say in Orange County. Or if you're going up to LA, what's your favorite place, to visit when you go up to LA? And you will get all these comments of people offering their advice and suggestions. They want to help. They want to feel like someone, took their advice. And it's a great way to boost that engagement, to get people excited about your content. And when they're interacting with you, it has all these positive rankings algorithmically, which we're going to talk more about in just a minute. But so look at ways that you can ask for those little tips and recommendations from your audience to get them engaging with your content. And then, of course, yes, share your successes in real estate. Houses sold, properties listed, testimonials. I still absolutely want you to share that kind of content, but you notice that's one of these 6 blocks. So we're not doing all houses all the time. Not everything is going to be a new listing, an open house. No, we're going to mix those in with all this other type of content that makes you a resource and a value add to your audience, so they want to continue to work with you. You have to remember that buying cycle is a very narrow period of time, and people may not be ready to buy for 3 years or 5 years. You've got to keep them engaged until they're ready to hit that buying cycle. Create a constant stream of value. This kind of builds off of what we talked about yesterday, making yourself a local go-to resource. When you know what all the things are in the neighborhoods and the communities, people will keep you top of mind. I always tell the story. When I moved into this condo that I live in, I've been here now for about just over 4 years. But when I moved in, I toured a whole bunch of condos in this area. And there's only one real estate professional that is still in my inbox. And I got on a bunch of lists, trust me. There's only one that I stay on her list. And the reason why is because on the 1st of every month, she sends out an email that has literally all the things to do with San Diego. There's, this, whether it's a convention like a home and garden show, there's concerts, there's kids activities, parades, all these different things that are happening. And it's a great resource for me to be like, oh, here's some fun things to try out. We just had, Oktoberfest. We're going to all the fall and Halloween festivals and carnivals and things. And she puts it all in one email. If you can translate that same concept to your Instagram account, making yourself that local go-to resource, people will follow you. They will share that content. They will bookmark that content. They're going to come back to you repeatedly because you're constantly giving them that local resource that's of value to them. Uplift and support other businesses. We talked a little bit about this yesterday as well. If you have a great plumber or a great handyman or a great landscaper or somebody who does home staging that you work with, that you love, share that referral, share that resource as a way of giving them recognition, but also you're providing that resource to your audience. So now they're like, yeah, I really need a handyman. Oh, look, there's a recommendation for somebody. And they're more likely to reach out to that person because it came from a direct recommendation, not just a Google search. And it gives you a chance to help support other businesses locally as well. And provide real estate news and information. There's always things going on, right? There's new construction going up, whether it's multifamily home units, whether it's single family home, there's always new construction, especially in a lot of areas around Orange County. It might even be things like, they're doing, freeway expansion or, adding in new areas with parks and resources like that for communities. Share that information. It sets you up as a wealth of knowledge and it sets you apart from the competition. So it's something where people go, oh, like I see all this construction. Do you know what's going on? And you're like, oh, yeah, I'll look into it. You don't look like an expert in the industry. But if you come forward and you're like, hey, we're putting up this new construction, it's going to have this kind of impact on traffic, people start to recognize that and they trust you that much more, which means they're much more likely to want to work with you when the time comes. So these are things you can do to constantly add that value when you're creating your content. Keep your customer in mind. Oops. Because like I said, your sales window is very narrow. It's maybe a matter of, even if it's a 6-month time process to, for them to buy that first home or look at selling their current home, it's a relatively small window in a long period of time. Like I'm not currently looking to buy or sell, but that doesn't mean that I'm not your target audience. And that's why you want to build those relationships. You want to foster those relationships every single day so that when the time has come and I'm ready to buy or sell, you're the real estate agent that I want to work with. So how are we going to do that? What does that look like? Well, we're going to talk about the feed first. The Instagram feed is when you go to the home icon and you scroll through the feed. So let's talk about that algorithm. Now, a lot of people get scared out by the word algorithm. They think Instagram is out to hide your content. They're out to get you. And I promise you they are not. I actually love the word algorithm. I have two degrees in science, so the word algorithm gets me all sciencey, and I start to geek out over, how things work. And so the algorithm actually is trying to give everybody a better experience. Now, that can have a detriment to brands if you're not using it to your advantage. So some things you want to think about when you are creating content on Instagram. The feed is based predominantly on individual interactions. This is the complete opposite of Facebook. On Facebook, the more popular your content, the more people they show it to, meaning the more people that like, comment, and share, the more people that will see it. That is not how it works on Instagram. Instagram is a one-to-one relationship. If you constantly interact with my content, you will see more of my content higher in your feed. If you start to ignore my content ranks lower and lower in your feed, regardless of how anyone else is interacting with my content. It is a one-to-one relationship. So you want to keep that in mind when you're creating this content. You want to think about that person that you're talking to, that target audience. How can you create the content that is most likely to appeal to them? There also is going to be some small value on popularity. This has a bigger impact on things like Reels, and we'll talk more about that. But if you do have a post that's doing exceptionally well, it can get a little bit of a boost. But in general, it is that one-to-one relationship. Another factor is your activity. And this is something a lot of people don't think about. So what we don't want to do is post and ghost. That means you show up, you post your post on Instagram, and you walk away, and you don't come back until 3 days later when you do your next post. If that's what you're doing, Instagram is like, nope, you're not in it for the right reasons. They want you on the platform. So if you log in every day for even a few minutes and scroll through Instagram when you're standing in line at the grocery store, or you're waiting in the Starbucks drive-through, look at the feed, check some stories, go check a DM or two. If you're active on the platform, your content will get more reach. Keep this in mind if you have somebody else helping manage your social media and your Instagram account for you. If that's the case, we want to make sure that if they're posting, that you're still in there and interacting, like some people's content, maybe follow a new person, but be active on the platform, because that tells Instagram that you are there, and they're going to give you more reach with your content as well. So when it comes to your content, how much, how often, that's one of the famous questions. Well, I actually want you to post less content. This is something that sounds counterintuitive, but we don't want your content to compete with itself. If you are posting every single day, there is a good chance that your content is competing with itself. Meaning if you post something today and it starts doing really well and it's getting good reach, it's getting, good engagement. If you post something tomorrow, tomorrow's post probably won't get nearly as much reach because this one's still doing well. Instagram wants to keep pushing this one out, and now this one's going to go lower in the feeds. So it's not going to get as much exposure and as much as engagement. Or if this one's starting to do well, but then you post this one and Instagram's like, oh, this one's getting attention, now it's going to push this one down when this one could have had more. So if you're posting multiple times a day, I promise you it's probably too much. If you're posting every single day, it can work. I have a real estate client who posts every single day and she's crushing it. It does really well for her. Most brands, most real estate professionals do really well with about 3 to 5 posts a week when we're talking about the feed. So if you're doing 3 times a week, that's great. If you're doing once a week, that's totally okay too. The biggest thing is we want you to be consistent, and we want to make sure you're posting high quality content, not mediocre. If it's like, oh, I have to post to Instagram, here's a photo, it's going to tank. You have to put the time and effort into putting in high quality content that stands out and captures attention. We'll give you some examples of how to do that and what that looks like, but we want to make sure that when someone's scrolling and they see your content, that it gets their attention. We want it to slow the scroll, because even just slowing and then continuing to scroll is a positive ranking algorithmically. They swipe through your carousel, that's a positive ranking algorithmically. So we want to find a way to get them to stop and pay attention to your content. Mediocre content does not achieve that. And finally, we want you to post with purpose. Now, not every post is going to be about an open house or a new listing or a showing or, it recently closed. We're going to have all these other types of content that all have a purpose. You're going to ask that question about what restaurant to try out. That's not going to sell you a house. That's true. But it's engagement lifting, meaning it's going to get people staying active with your content, which keeps all your content higher. You're going to post a photo of your dog because dogs are cute and they do really well on Instagram, or your cat or your hamster or even your kids, because those are engagement bait. People like cute little animals and babies, and that's going to get your engagement up. You keep your engagement up and you keep your activity up. When you say, hey, we've got an open house this weekend, more people are going to see it. So everything works in line, in tandem, with a purpose to ultimately get you more home listings, more home closings, more open house attendees, whatever it is you're looking for as your ultimate goal. Everything is going to work towards that, even though all those posts are not going to be just about the real estate or a new listing type situation. So some things to think about in terms of general visual things to keep in mind. Now, these are not real estate examples specifically, but you can translate these into your content. So this one here on the left from the Love Bomb Co., she sells these products. They're, you know, cups, glassware, mugs, that sort of thing. And the reason I like this photo is two things. One, there is a clear focal point. So there is a busy background, right? It looks like they're probably standing in kind of like a strip mall kind of environment. There's all the windows and the pillars and everything. If that was not a clear focal point and that background was not blurred out, that would not be a good photo. It would be way too distracting, way too many elements, and your eye cannot focus on a single element. You're going to swipe past it. But by having that clear focal point with the background very blurred out, your eyes focus, they come in tight, and that makes that a good photo. So keep that in mind. Whatever you can do to bring attention to a singular item is advantageous. Another thing is this one has a human component. You will notice there is a hand. It is not an entire person. It is not a face, but it is a hand. Including a human component can increase engagement by upwards of 20% on your posts. So if you can have someone holding something, shooting the camera over someone's shoulder where you just see like the shape of their head and their shoulder, they're sitting in a chair and you see their legs. If you can add a human component, it will increase your engagement. So think about that when you're taking photos. Now, I know you never want to take a photo of a person in a house. I get it. But if you can have something that adds some element of a human component, not necessarily to those photos, but your other photos, even if it's you holding something and it's just your hand, it could be you holding a flyer, it could be you holding a flower, something that brings in a human component. Now, this next one in the middle of the screen where you've got the pink, chocolate balls in the ramekin, I like this for a couple of reasons, which again, you can think about when you're taking photos of staging properties or even just photos of your own type of content for Instagram. It has a bold color that pops. So you've got this muted background with the grays and the whites and the very soft colors. And then boom, this pop of fuchsia that just grabs your attention. That gets you to slow the scroll. That makes you focus on something. Also, this is aesthetically well aligned with the rule of thirds. So that front-facing ramekin is in the lower third. If you cut your photo into a grid, so you do 2 lines vertically, 2 lines horizontally, you get 9 squares. That lower third, and then the rear-facing ramekin is off on that left third. So it's very aesthetically appealing where it's not dead center. And so that's another way to mix up your content, make it look a little bit different, but by focusing on that rule of thirds, you can make things look aesthetically appealing. This image here with the dog is from Cottage Grove. They are an apartment complex. And this one works for a few reasons. One, animals. I've already mentioned this. Cute puppies, cute animals, cute babies, you name it, engagement goes up. But also, this one has the color blue, and it's prominent subtly, if that makes sense. He's wearing a blue bandana. There is a blue felt on the pool table in the background. There is a slight blue filter on that image. The color blue has been shown to increase engagement by 20 to 30%. Why? It's a psychological thing. It's the way our brains compute, but the color blue has been shown to increase engagement. If blue is not your brand color, if blue doesn't work with your color scheme, that's okay. There's a blue sky outside. You could be somewhere where there's blue in the background, or you could wear a blue shirt. There's ways that you can incorporate the color blue. Try it out, see if that helps. It might boost your engagement a little bit. The other reason this image works really well is because it is a raw image. You will notice the other 3 images I have here are highly edited, probably photoshopped a little bit. This is a photo shot on a smartphone and uploaded directly to Instagram. It's a little bit blurry. It's not the best quality photo, but that makes it relatable. And yes, some of your photos should be more raw, especially when we get to stories, but in the feed even, that makes it relatable. That takes us back to the old days of Instagram when it was Insta and you actually used your camera phone as a primary photograph or primary camera for your photographs. It gives people a relatability that not everything is so polished and so perfect. They like that behind the scenes type environment, and giving them a raw photo kind of alludes to that with your content. And then the image here on the right, I love this image for a few reasons, but I like it because it's very Instagram-y in the sense that it has the very long linear line. Like those train tracks go off into infinity, into that distant focal point, which is dead center, but you get those long linear lines. We talked about this a little bit yesterday in trying to find ways to play with angles and lines when you're creating your content. You know, look for things in a home where you can get a long line down, maybe a long hallway, or put your camera down really low against some hardwood floor planks. If they have a really big island in the kitchen, that can be a unique focal point, or something in the backyard. Look for ways that you can play with those linear or longer lines. I also like this image because it creates movement. You get an emotional reaction. Like I actually almost get vertigo when I see this photo because I can feel the motion in it. When you can make somebody feel something, that is very positive. People want to have an emotional reaction. That's going to drive engagement. And this is a good positive emotion. You're not sad, you're not scared, but you get a physical reaction when you see the motion. And then of course, there's the color complements as well, keeping that in mind. Now this is nature. Of course, it's going to be perfectly color complementary, but you've got kind of the orange on the left and then the green on the right, which creates this contrast, but they're complementary. So it's visually appealing, but it also kind of makes you stop because of that difference in the color schemes. So it's just a unique, fun way to try something different with your content and look for things that you can do with that when you're creating your content on Instagram. Other things I want you to think about when you're creating content. Please, for the love of all things on the planet, stop taking your PDFs of your flyers, of your invitations, making that a JPEG and uploading that to Instagram. It will not work. That type of image, if you've got that kind of PDF, kind of graphical image and got a lot of text and stuff, that works on Facebook. It probably also works on LinkedIn. It does not work on Instagram. You cannot simply take that PDF, make it a JPEG, and put it up on Instagram. It will not perform. People don't like it. It's not visually appealing, and it's way too distracting. You've got text everywhere. There's so much text, you can't possibly read it. It's overwhelming, and people are swiping past it, and it's hurting you algorithmically. So instead, this is actually a little boomerang video that this gentleman created. But what he does, he took the actual invitation for the open house and he shows it here. You can see his hand holding it. He's standing on that property in the backyard. And then he flips the invitation over so you can read it. And it's a boomerang video so it's just his hand flipping back and forth with the actual physical invitation. But then he put all of the information you need to know in the caption. So the video gets your attention, but you don't have to stop and read the video because it still has the date, the time, everything else in the caption. So this is a fun way of taking what could have been a simple PDF turned into a JPEG and making it fun and Instagram-y. So look for ways that you can do this. You could even do this, just take a great photo of the property. You don't have to go as far as this boomerang, but take a great photo of the property and then put all the details they need to know about that open house, the showing, whatever it is, put all of that in the caption. If people want it, they will get it. We talked about this yesterday, so I'm not going to dive too deep into this, but it's a very technical term. We want to make things Instagram-y. And so what does that mean? Some things to keep in mind. Focus on a key feature or a couple features of the house, not that standard curb shot, here's the front of the house, look at this amazing house. No, that's not Instagram-y. We want things like this, the backyard. We want that beautiful chef's kitchen. We want that amazing, bathroom, maybe in the primary bathroom with, this beautiful, rain shower or something, whatever it is. There are components of the home that are much more Instagram-y than just that front facing. Now, that being said, there are some lovely shots that you can get, especially maybe you get that dusk sunset and you got the front of the house, it's all lit up. That can be very Instagram-y. but we want to look for beautiful images that have lots of color, a lot of dimension. Again, something that makes people have an emotional reaction. When I see this backyard, I want to go there. I want to go see that house. I have zero idea what that house looks like. It could be an absolute disaster, but I want to go because of that yard. That's what you want to think of when you're picking those images. Play with those angles that we talked about and pick those best possible features. All right, so now let's talk about videos and the types of videos that you can be creating on Instagram, because video is definitely something we still want to consider. Obviously, Instagram is photo heavy, but there's lots of ways that you can use videos. So one thing you can do is go live. So this is tied in through the Instagram Stories platform. You go in there, but if you open the camera, there's all the options at the bottom. There's stories, there's live, there's reels, there's all the little options at the bottom when you swipe to the camera. So you choose Instagram Live. And this is a great way to, again, showcase your expertise, get people to connect with you. Your face doesn't have to be on camera. In this case, Morgan is taking you on a tour of a property. You can hear her voice. She's walking you through the property, but you don't see her face. That's okay. It doesn't have to be her face on camera, but she's still walking you through, telling you all about it and sharing the features of the home and that sort of thing. This is great for leading up to an open house, or if you're only doing private showings, you can do a quick walkthrough in a live video. And then what you do is you save the live video and it goes to your profile so people can go back and watch it later. So it doesn't have to disappear when you're done with the live video. It's also great for things like regular Q&A. Morgan has done this as well. She does a lot of regular video sessions. She'll do Q&As and that sort of thing. It can be great you alone. It can be you interviewing somebody. It can be you answering questions from the audience, whatever it is, but sit there on camera and answer those questions. Again, people get to see your face, they get to hear your voice, they get to see and witness your experience, your expertise, and the value that you bring to be able to help them in the long run. The other advantage of doing this is you can actually see everyone who viewed that video. So if you're showing something like this video on the screen where you're doing a preview of an open house, you can go in and see all those people who watched that video. And now I'm not saying you're going to go and harass them and follow up with, hey, are you going to come? But it starts to build a list. And if you do another live video and you start to notice some of the same names are popping up, that's when you can reach out and be like, hey, I've noticed you popped into a number of our live videos for some open houses we have. Are you looking to buy? Is there anything that you're looking for? Can I help you find your dream home? So it's a way to start to build that relationship without being super stalkerish right up front the first time they watch a video. But if they started to watch a bunch of them, there's probably a good chance that they are interested. They may just like looking at pretty homes, and that's fine too, but you can start to build that relationship and that dialogue through seeing them on the videos and then pursuing that with some direct messages. So here's another example from Morgan. Like I said, she does a lot of these video updates where she will record a video, she uploads it to Instagram, and they're typically answering things like commonly asked questions or addressing market news and trends. And this is doing something with your personality in it. So it's not going to be simply reading off like, here's the current month's market numbers. That's not fun. They can get that information anywhere. We want you to make it you. We want to add your personality, your take. What does this mean for your neighborhood? Well, markets are down, but, we're seeing this, home prices are starting to cool off, but here's what it means for you. And here's how you can get top dollar. So just because there's a news factor doesn't mean you have to just report the news. You can now translate that into ways that can actually help your audience and forecast things that they can look forward to or find other ways to give them some added benefits. This is also great for creating episodic content where you create something on a regular basis. So it might be the first Wednesday of every month or every other Friday or whatever it is, where you have a set schedule for where you create this content, whether you go live or it's pre-recorded and then uploaded. But this is really good around certain themes as well. So if you typically work with first-time home buyers, this is a good way for you to create a video content strategy around answering a frequently asked question every week or every other week or whatever it is to answer those questions for those first-time home buyers. Here's how to get XYZ. Here's how to do ABC. Here's what you need to do before you do this. You can walk them through all the steps and you have all of that content so that when they're ready or when they find it, they can go back and get the rest of the videos and you're helping them through that entire process. All right, so let's talk about Instagram Reels because there's a good chance you've heard about Reels. It's kind of the thing. Facebook, Instagram, all of it is all Reels all the time. It feels like it is not that over the top, but yes, it can feel like that because Meta, which owns Facebook and Instagram, is pushing hard on Reels. They are ultimately trying to take down TikTok. Yes, we all know that. But then in doing that, they've created all this short form video content and a huge push for it. And it is getting exposure. I get way more reach and exposure when I create a reel than when I do a normal feed post. Doesn't mean that I have to make all reels all the time. I still do regular feed posts because not all my audience are going to watch those reels, but they do help with reach. They help with getting new eyeballs on your content. They help with serving your audience. So if you're not currently using reels, I'm going to implore you to try to get started, even if it's just creating one a month, just to get the feel for it. You can even go in, do it in Instagram stories if you're more comfortable in the stories feature, film a little video in there, download that, save that to your camera roll, and then you can upload that into Reels. If that's a more intuitive way for you to create a short form video, do that. But you're going to want to get started with Instagram Reels. So some things you want to keep in mind when you are doing Reels. First of all, keep the caption super short. So when it comes to feed post, you want the long caption, you want descriptive. We talked about that more yesterday. On Reels, what you see on this screen, you see down there, you have the Mr. Brian Tran, and then you see one line of text. You're leaving a lot of money on the table if, and then it goes ... That's all people see. You see one line of text. You could write this huge, long, eloquent caption, but most people are not going to tap on it because when you do, it pops up. Now you have all this white text over this moving video. It's very hard to read. It's very distracting. Most people are not going to read the caption. It is a video. They want the information in the video. So we want to make that caption super short. We want it to be basically a title, a teaser, that question, kind of like what he has here. You're leaving a lot of money on the table if, and you're like, oh my gosh, if what? It makes you want to watch that video. So think about how you can have that really good kind of hook, title, question statement in one line of text that's going to get people to want to watch that video. You're going to use the same hashtag strategy as your feed post. We're going to talk about hashtags in just a moment. You do not have to dance. Trust me, no one wants to see this dance. I'm not dancing. You do not need to dance. You can do plenty of reels without dancing. You can do that by creating educational content, not just entertainment content. It doesn't just need to be cat videos or funny dance videos. It can be answer frequently asked questions. In this case, Brian's 3 things you must do before you sell, and he's walking you through those steps. That's an educational piece of content. It's highly valuable to your target audience. Other things to keep in mind, get right to the point in the first frame. You cannot come into this video when you're filming a reel and be like, hi, I'm Jen Herman. And in this video, you lost your viewers at I'm. Like, hi, I'm, boom, gone. You want to come in hot. You can't even be like, so in this video, nope, I've lost you. It needs to be like, have you ever wondered? Do you know? Other people are making this mistake. You got to come in hot with something that gets their attention right off the bat. Don't worry about giving them some long-winded title. Do not worry about introducing yourself. Get right to the point in the first frame of that video to hook them in. And you want to add a title with a text box like Brian did here, where he has a text box across the middle of the screen. You want that because that way, if someone sees the preview and it's not just his face, if it's just his face, I have no idea what that video is about. But if I see that, I go, ooh, that's important to me. So putting that text box on there for a title and for the cover image that you will then use on the reel increases your retention, increases your views, increases new people seeing your content because you're telling them what is in that video. Other things you can do to optimize your reels, add music, even if it's just in the background. So the more that you can do, the next point here, film within the Reels app or add Reels filters and features. The more you can do in app, the more reach and distribution you're going to get. If you film your reel elsewhere outside of Instagram and you upload it and hit publish, Instagram assumes that video is going to a million other places like TikTok and other video places like YouTube Shorts or that sort of thing. So the more editing you can do in app, the more you're telling Instagram it is a unique piece of content that nobody else has access to. It's going to get more reach. So you can put music in, even if you're talking, you can then go into your sound and you can drop the toggle on the music to like a 4. Super quiet, just enough in the background so they can still hear you talking, but Instagram knows this is a unique piece of content. Sorry, my alarm's going off. And then anything else you can do with adding filters, if you can add stickers, anything like that that you do within the app will tell Instagram it's a unique piece of content. Create those custom cover images with that text on it. And you want to make sure you pick the right time length dependent on your goals. 15 seconds and below is for reaching new audiences. Those are what are typically going to show up and explore. Most new people are not going to watch a 90-second video from somebody they don't know. They want short content, super short, really quick to the point in 15 seconds. That longer 60 to 90-second content is to serve your existing audience. Those are those longer tips, tutorials, resources type information. You want to grab your cameras off of your phone right now and scan this QR code. You can get a free guide with 12 Reels ideas. They're not specifically just real estate related. They're kind of more general, but there's 12 ideas that you can grab that you can start working on right now. So you can create 12 Reels. If you do one a month, that's a year's worth of content. If you do one a week, you've got 3 months worth of content using that guide. So you can grab a quick scan of that. You will also be getting copies of these slides as a PDF. So you will have access to that. You will have to opt in. You have to say yes to the email list, and then it will send you the guide. But don't worry, I'm not going to spam you with a ton of emails. I just send 1 email a month with all the updates at the end of the month. All right, so let's talk Instagram hashtags really quick, because we can't talk Instagram without talking hashtags. So you are definitely going to want to make sure that you are taking advantage of using hashtags on your posts. You're going to use the same thing for feed posts and for Reels posts. Things you want to keep in mind: more is better. You can use up to 30. I want you to use a minimum of 10, closer to 20. 20 is kind of a good sweet spot for how many hashtags. You want to use your own branded hashtag. I use hashtag Jen's Trends. You might use something related to, your name real estate, or your name Orange County, or your name Newport, or something like that. Whatever it is, you want a branded hashtag. You're going to use trendy or themed related hashtags when relevant, content related hashtags, and industry related hashtags. So this example is not a real estate one, but it's a really good example that I always use, because it's obviously a beautiful image of a hummingbird and flowers. This is on the Burrowing Owl Winery property. It's a winery in British Columbia, Canada. So they have hashtag beautiful BC, which is the tourism hashtag for British Columbia. So that would be the industry related. You have hashtag BC Day, because BC Day is a holiday. That's your trendy or theme. Hashtag Burrowing Owl Wine is their own custom branded. You have wines of Instagram and wine tasting, which are, again, industry related. And then you have hashtag hummingbird, because that's literally a hummingbird. So that's your content related hashtags. So they hit all 4 of those categories. The second one, that trendy or themed, is the only one that's sometimes hit and miss. If it's not relevant, you don't have to use that, but the other 3 categories should get used every single time. Also, as a reminder, you are going to get copies of these slides, but if you want to grab a screenshot or make note of this, this is a super secret recipe that I tell everybody. I also have YouTube videos on this and blog posts in a bit more detail, because we're going to go through this pretty quickly. But I want you to think about all the hashtags that you're going to put on your posts. So you're going to go look for things, and you are not going to use hashtag real estate. If you're using it, you are going to stop. That is one of the most popular hashtags in the world. It is a global hashtag with millions upon millions upon millions of posts, and it's completely irrelevant. So we want to look for hashtags that are under 1 million posts associated with them. If you go to Instagram and search a hashtag, it will tell you how many posts are associated with it. So 4 to 5 popular hashtags. Those are those about 500,000 upwards of 1 million. You're gonna pick 5 to 6 moderately popular. Those are kind of 50,000 upwards of 500,000. Your niche specific, super targeted. These may only have a few hundred, a few thousand posts associated with them. That's perfectly okay. We want to get hyper targeted. And then your 1 to 3 branded hashtags. And you're going to use this recipe over and over. We're not going to go back and retro this on any of our existing posts. We're going to start using this going forward. Why this works is when you combine all of those different groups of hashtags, your followers are seeing your content in the feed, they start interacting. Your hashtags get you non-followers. And so what happens is you start posting all this content, you start using this hashtag strategy. The popular ones get you an initial burst of activity. The moderately popular keep you active longer, hours into days. But then those niche specific ones, you can rank as a top post for weeks, for months. So if you have something in there related to a very specific neighborhood, like you're not just saying, again, like Orange County real estate, maybe you're getting hyper targeted. You're not even just saying, Irvine, you're specifically talking about a very specific area, like the Woodbridge area or something within Irvine. You're getting super targeted. So those are things where if no one else is posting on that, you own that hashtag. You're going to be the top post for a long period of time, where if someone goes to that hashtag, they're going to see your content. They see your content, they go to your profile, and now they're following you, they're sending you a DM, they're, calling you, emailing you, whatever it is. That's how you drive traffic with hashtags. So which hashtags are you going to use? Well, I want you to think about what your audience is looking for, not what you want to be found for. Most people are not going to Instagram looking to buy a house. Probably not the first place they're going to look. But what they are looking for are things going on in their communities. They're looking for things that they can do on the weekend. They're looking for restaurants to go to. They're looking for home decor tips and ideas and inspiration. So think about those things, and we want to use those relevant hashtags. So look for those local and geographic. Look for things that are going on locally around Orange County that you can either piggyback off of. If it is something like a home and garden show, they are your target audience. Local activities and events, home design, decor, remodeling, any of those types of hashtags. Things related to the home repair, landscaping, certain rooms, things like hashtag dream kitchen, those sorts of things. Now, again, that's very broad. So we want to do hashtag dream kitchen, and then we want to do hashtags related to Laguna Niguel. So you're getting all of that in there and getting people finding your content where it's relevant. All right, so let's talk about using Instagram stories really quick before we wrap things up on content today. So stories are those bubbles across the top of your feed. If you have never watched a story, they are going to go chronologically with whoever has the newest, most recent story added to their posts. If you ever watched one, it's algorithmically sorted on the likelihood that you're going to interact and watch those stories. So if you watch them passively, that's positive ranking. But if you pause and hold, that's positive ranking. If you reply, a quick reply, or send a message or like it, that's more ranking. If you interact with the sticker, so you follow through and you go from that sticker to that person's account, or you go and read the post that was shared, those are all positive rankings. The more activity you take on a story, the higher that person's stories rank in your feed across the top. So how do we maximize that? How do we get people to actually interact positively with your content and keep yours ranking higher? Well, stickers are the key to success. Stickers drive attention. So you can use things like the poll, quiz, and questions. That's great for, again, those resources, tutorials, educational things, those frequently asked questions, things that they should know, but they don't know. You can do all these things. You can even do fun little polls. I've seen them do it like, do you decorate for the holidays? Yes or no? And, have people vote on it. Like, it's the easiest little, kind of clickbait almost to get people to interact. But when they're doing it, it's positive ranking. It's keeping your stories ranking higher. You can do things like add yours. That's a fun new sticker where when you do that, it creates a daisy chain. So I could be like, here's my fall, entryway decor, add yours. And people can take a photo of their front entrance and they add it, and then their friends see it, and then they add one, and it creates this daisy chain of content of all these people that are tied to it. It could be show me your dog. That works too. The countdown sticker is great for things like open houses. So if you have an open house Saturday morning at 10 a.m., add the countdown sticker 24 hours. You can do it longer than that before, but do it a good 24 hours before and be like, hey, open house tomorrow, click the countdown sticker for a reminder. And you use GIFs and emojis and things to draw attention to it. The slider sticker is the weirdest sticker ever, but again, it drives engagement. And the link sticker, anybody can use it. You don't need 10,000 followers. You can send a link to any destination, that MLS listing, that blog on your website, anywhere you want to send people to, your YouTube video, anything like that. You can use that link sticker in your stories to drive traffic. So here's some examples of what some of, examples of these types of things look like. In this case, the image on the left, they added music. So it's this bright, freshly cleaned kitchen, and it's to the Stevie Wonder song, Isn't She Lovely? And you kind of know, like in 10 minutes, the kids are going to walk in and get fingers all over the place. But for that moment, isn't she lovely? Like, it's just fun. It's relatable. You have this one in the middle. Again, playing with angles, getting that camera down really low, drawing out the length of that island. And it's a really simple question. How long is this piece of granite? Now, we're not going to argue whether it's granite, quartz, or some other type of stone, but in this case, it's kind of clickbaity, right? Like, you're not going to win anything. You don't get a prize because you got the right answer, but people want to participate. They're like, oh, it's 82 inches. Oh, it's 106. Like, people are going to guess. They're going to want to participate. it gets people engaging, keeps your content ranking higher algorithmically. This example on the right is where they, again, asked a question. They said, send us your questions. So you pop in a question that you want them to answer, and then they create these story sequences that answer those questions. So it's a way to, again, provide that added value, that resource-based information, but using it through getting that kind of crowd-funded questions that you can then reply to. So overall, when it comes to Instagram and your overall content strategy, regular feed posts are going to be used to serve your audience and keep engagement. We want to get the things out there that are going to get them interacting. So we're going to do those personal posts, the behind the scenes, the family, the resources, what's going on in the community. We want to keep that engagement up. Then we want to use Reels for exposure and placement. Reels are going to get you in front of new people faster, quicker, and going to get you into more places, and just going to get more engagement on those posts. So use those strategically for that additional exposure. We want to use hashtags for search and discoverability. We talked a lot about keyword search yesterday, and hashtags play heavily into that keyword search as well as hashtag search. So we need to make sure that we're using those strategically on feed posts and Reels to be able to get that exposure and to tell the Instagram AI in the background what your content is about, so it's ranking it for keyword searches. And then we want to do stories for that top of mind content, things that if you're posting stories every single day, you're constantly every 24 hours, you got something fresh up there, you're staying in the top of that feed. People are seeing your content, they're staying top of mind. Even if you only do stories a couple times a week, that's okay. But it's easier to create that content sometimes than the feed and the Reels. And it gives you a variety from text-based and photos and videos to have that quick form, short form content to stay interactive with your audience. I want to thank you all for hanging out with me again today. I know we covered a lot. We went through a lot of information. So if you have any questions, feel free to drop those in the chat right now. We have a few minutes left that we can still answer any of those questions. And of course, you can join me and connect with me pretty much anywhere around the web as Jenns, JENNS_trends. That's my Instagram, my Twitter, my YouTube, all the different accounts are pretty much that handle. You can also go to my free Facebook group. If you go to Facebook and search Jenns Trends and Social Media, you'll find that Facebook group. And there's a lot of other real estate professionals in there. I share breaking, Instagram news, kind of big news updates on Instagram, as well as other social media news. I also have my membership program, Profit Your Profile, and a real estate course, and my books if you want to look into those. If you want to scan that QR code, it is going to sign you up for the free newsletter. That's where the first Wednesday of every month, I send out a newsletter. That's it. I don't spam you, I promise. One newsletter the first Wednesday of every month that goes out with all the Instagram updates. We had 10 updates in September. I believe we had 18 in August and like 22 back in July. So a lot of updates happen regularly in Instagram, and I will give you all those updates and what they mean for you, and also a list of all the other big social media news and updates on that first Wednesday of every month. So you can do that quick QR code scan if you want to join that newsletter. I'm going to leave this up here for just a second while I pop open the chat and just see if we have any questions that popped up. So Kathy said, it sounds like live video can be done in live Reels or post. Is placement in one better than another? So video, it really is. It's kind of evolving into all these different places. It depends on what you want to do. If you're going to do a longer video, I recommend doing live. Go live, do the longer video, especially if you're doing one of those home tours or, something where you're doing a Q&A and you want to, spend 15, 20 minutes doing kind of a Q&A answer session. Do that in live, and then it saves it to your profile, and it will look like a reel when it's done, because now all video format looks like a reel, but it will be that longer video, that 15 to 20 or upwards of an hour, whatever you want. But it gives you the ability to do that longer form video, do it live. You get a better push for reach and distribution when you go live, and then it lives on your profile. Reels are great for that really quick, like really short, like you're talking about one thing and as quick as you possibly can in that short form content. Most Reels are under 30 seconds. You can go up to 90 seconds though. So that's the short form, quick tips, quick tutorials, usually highly shareable, more reach for new audiences. If you're really trying to reach new people, Reels are going to help you get there faster. I don't really recommend normal, just kind of feed videos. You can do them, absolutely. But I would say if you can, do it live and then save it to your profile. Do reels for shorter videos. If you have those kind of 2 to 5 minute videos and you want to upload, absolutely upload those. You can put them on your profile. But most accounts are not going to get a lot of reach and distribution, and probably not even a lot of retention on those videos. It just doesn't meet the current Instagram vibe for what they're trying to push on us. So a normal post video, which can be upwards of 10 minutes, uploaded by your phone, is probably the least effective of them all. They can still work. And if your audience is programmed for video and watching video, they can still perform really well, but they're probably the least valuable right now between live and reels and stories. Stories videos work too. We just got the update. It was just this past month in September, where stories videos are now upwards of, I'm going to stop sharing the screen. Stories videos are now 60 seconds. So you can still do a short video, but instead of cutting it into all the 15-second chunks, stories videos now go to 60 seconds. So that's a better way to get that longer form video. Again, great for doing recording there and then making that your reels video, but definitely take advantage of the stories videos as well, Kathy. Human Nori said, which platform are you seeing get the most traction for new lead generation? Great question. And tomorrow we're going to talk more about lead generation, actually. So great tie into tomorrow. So in all honesty, it's going to depend on a variety of factors, but stories for most people are the highest type of converting content, which seems kind of crazy. But stories where people tend to, figuratively let their hair down. They tend to be a little bit more real, a little bit more raw. It's a little bit more spontaneous. You're getting someone doing that quick tip, that tutorial. They're answering those questions. They're showing their expertise. And when someone's in there and they're getting that information in that quick form format, they're more likely to follow through. Go over to your profile, do that link in bio, send you an email, choose that opt-in for, getting on that list or checking those listings that are coming up on market or those sorts of things. So most people see the highest conversions off of stories. Now I say that with a caveat because for the most part, I am the opposite of everything that works for everybody else. Stories don't convert well for me. So for me, feed posts are going to be the best for lead generation. Contrary to what you would think, reels suck for lead generation. They're horrible. Reels are great for top of funnel, the toppest of the top of the funnel for just exposure, awareness, getting people to find you. Reels don't convert for most brands, most people, most accounts. You are probably not going to get much for lead generation on reels. And that's why we talked a bit about this yesterday. You really want to mix up your content. We finished up with that today. We really want to make sure that you're mixing in the feed, the stories, the reels, the live video. You want to use all these different pieces of content strategically so that you're getting all those different results. Because if all you're doing is reels, sure, you may grow your account. Sure, you might get a great video that gets, 10, 20,000 views, but is it going to get you a lead? Is it going to sell a house? Not as likely. You might do a feed post that might only get like 30 or 40 likes, but then drives traffic to your website and gets those opt-ins, gets those leads going. So if that's what you're going after, then the feed posts are more valuable, even if they don't get a ton of engagement. So just keep that in mind. Michelle said, can I get your Facebook again, please? So it is, if you go to Facebook, just search Jen's Trends in social media. You will find that group in there. You'll also find my page. You're welcome to follow the page as well. But the Facebook group is Jen's Trends in social media. You'll see my face. And which, in your opinion, do you believe is best served for nurturing your current client base? So follow on to the previous question from Human there. So here's the thing. It entirely depends on your audience. Again, a lot of people have a great conversion rate, a great connection with stories. Stories are very powerful for most people. And so a lot of times I would say focus on the stories. That's a great way to get in front of them. It's fresh, it's constant. If you can create that fresh content within every 24-hour cycle, so you always have something in there, it can be a really powerful way to connect and build that relationship and nurture that existing client base. Now, that being said, there's always an exception to the rule. I'm usually the exception. So for me, my best way of nurturing is feed posts and asking for DMs. So a lot of times I'll say, if you want this, like, do you want to get on my newsletter? Send me a DM. Hey, I'm going to be going to this. Do you want to know more about it? Send me a DM. I push people into my direct messages. That's also why stories can be so valuable, because you have someone, watching your story. When they do a quick reply, it opens up a direct message. If they reply to you with a comment or a question or something, it opens up a direct message. And that is where the actual nurturing happens. That's where you get to start to have those one-on-one conversations where so I'll post something about mom mode, and people will laugh and joke and reply to the DMs. And that's where you start bantering, and you're like, girl, right? Like, what is up with this week? Is it a full moon? And they're like, oh my gosh, it is actually a full moon. Or it's Mercury retrograde. And you start chatting, and it may not be, again, it's not leading to, I'm going to get you into that open house this weekend, or I'm going to get your home sale next month. But you're starting to build and nurture those relationships. And that happens in direct messages. And we'll talk a little bit more about that tomorrow as well. Kathy's asking if we can get a copy of the slides. You will get a copy of the slides. As Elsie just said, you'll get the slides, and you will get a recording of this. So you'll have access to all of that as follow-up for all of this information. All right, so we are coming up on the top of the hour. If anyone has any last questions, feel free to drop those in there, and we can probably answer one more, as I'm just waiting to see if anybody drops any questions. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out with us today. It was great to see so many of you. Make sure you come back tomorrow. We will talk more about, we said, that lead generation and insights, the types of things you need to be looking at so you actually know what's working. Because I can sit here all day and tell you do X, Y, Z, but until you actually look at your data and your platform demographics, none of what I say really matters. It helps. It's good general direction, but your insights will actually tell you what works for you and what you should be focusing on. So we'll dive into more of that tomorrow. Thank you, everybody. It doesn't look like we have any more questions popping in. Human, thank you. I am so glad you were able to hang out. Cassie, thank you as always. It was fun today. And I will see all of you hopefully again tomorrow. And again, if you didn't catch yesterday's session live with us, make sure you catch that replay. You'll be getting that replay very shortly so that you can watch that, because that has all the foundations leading into today. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.